Да, 128 там достаточно, 5 часов. Ага. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, we will start in like 5 minutes. So meanwhile you can take the text. Don't have it back there. You can take the text and read it. Make yourself familiar with it. Do you think it's a very funny poem?
Sounds beautiful. I'm not so fond of this.
Maybe it is funny.
Maybe some stage of this.
Yeah, try to speak up a little bit because I really can't hear you. It's a very big space. We need to speak louder.
About some strange.
It's strange.
Not about everyday something.
Yeah, we'll have a look at it. Hello.
Oh,
How are you today?
excellent. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. Thanks for asking. Any questions about any words? Maybe.
Плохо. Плохо.
Okay, so you can just Google it or you can ask me.
Yeah. What about Wi-Fi connection here? Is it open or? Because cell phone internet through my cell phone doesn't work really good.
I don't know. They're supposed to have some sort of Wi-Fi. I don't know if
I
it's
see.
working. So then you can just ask me about work. I can be your Google today.
Yeah, and courage.
Encourage. Do you know anchor?
Anchor in a clock?
Anchor is a very useful thing
Okay.
as an anchor. Name for your ship. That's Titanic.
So the meaning of the word of this word is when the ship stops.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
it
put
may-
all the anchors to
It
anchor.
drops the thing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
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 to
yeah.
anchor.
Yeah. So,
Anchorage is the process.
yeah. Okay.
Maybe about the rush of the sea
Maybe.
or life.
Shall we catch the reason of the text or something? Because for me it's not possible right now because I cannot feel the reason.
Yeah, so that's how we start. We look at the poem, we don't understand anything. We see lots of strange words which just don't have any meaning. Then we look at it and somehow it shapes itself.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So for start, just if you don't know the words, you need to know words obviously to read it. So if you don't know any words, you can ask me while we are waiting. We still have a couple of minutes. Guerdon is like reward. Toil is like hard work, and guerdon is like reward. But it's not a normal word. It's like a poetic word. Mhm. Do we know the word? Treacherous. Deceptive. Deceptive. Not true. They look one thing, but really they're something different. Okay, do we know the word moored? Can it be moored?
The same thing as anchor, but to the
To the shore.
shore. Yeah.
To the land.
I know. I used to know another word for this, not bank, but this kind of equipment. It's like piers or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like this. Yeah.
Yonder. There. Yonder. Yonder means there, not too far away. Like we have the word beyond. Yeah. And that comes from the word yonder. Yonder is over there. Beyond is like behind. It's English. Surprisingly, it's English. Yonder. It's a normal English word. Yes. Well, how normal? People don't say it every day, maybe, but people use it. You see it in books too. Because we have the word there, and it's kind of easier. But yonder is very good. Hither is like here. Yonder is like there. It's a very good word. You should use it. You should use it more. Hello. So I think that's what we'll do, since we have quite a few strange words in it. First, I'll read it to you, I'll explain some strange words, then we'll read it all together, and then we'll discuss it. Okay, how does it sound to you? So, Emerson illusions. Flow, flow, yeah, I'll read it, I'll explain funny words, then we'll read it all together. So, flow, flow the ways, hated, accursed, adored, the ways of mutation. No anchorage is. So anchorage, to put an anchor. Sleep is not, death is not. Who seem to die, leave. House you burning, friends of your springtime, old man and young maid, they toil, hard work toil, and its guerdon, its reward. They're all vanishing, fleeing to fables, turn into stories, flee into fables, run into stories, become stories. Cannot be moored, so moored like anchored only at the land, not in the middle of sea. Moored. See the stars through them, through treacherous marbles. Treacherous like deceptive, not true. Marbles, do you know marbles? Those little marbles, you play with them. and little kind of spheres, balls, and children play with them. They're very, very beautiful. No, the stars yonder, there, yonder, the stars everlasting, forever, the stars everlasting, a fugitive also, they're also running away, fugitive, and emulate like simulate, vaulted, like vault, shelter, the lambent heat lightning. A lambent is like very soft, twinkling, unsteady light. Very beautiful lambent. Heat lightning. And fireflies flight. A firefly, you know, this little insect which is glowing. When thou dost return, thou dost, you do, in a very poetic way. Thou dost, you do. When you do return on the wave circulation, behold this shimmer! Look at this shimmering, this again soft light, like this.
Мерцание.
The wild dissipation. What's dissipation? It's like when you had one thing and then it dissipates. It comes into lots of little things all over the place. Yeah. And out of endeavor like eagerness, when you want to do something, when you have your ideas, to change and to flow, the gas becomes solid, and phantoms and nothings return to be things, and endless imbroglio. Imbroglio is like when it's difficult to understand something, you make something difficult to you can say confusion. This endless confusion, endless imbroglio is low in the world. Then first shalt thou know, you shall know, shalt thou know, that in the wild turmoil, horse on the Proteus, Proteus, we'll talk about this guy a bit later, thou ridest to power, you ride to power and to endurance. Yeah? Do you know endurance? Okay. So now let's read it all together with me. Now that we know the meanings of the words, it should be easier. Okay? And then we'll discuss it. So Ralph Waldo Emerson, Illusions. Flow, flow the way. I can't hear you. Okay. Again. Flow, flow the ways hated, cursed, adored. The waves of mutation, no anchorage is. Sleep is not, death is not. Who seem to die, leave. House your burning, friends of your springtime, old man and young maid, day's toil and its guerdon. They're all vanishing. Flee to fables, cannot be more. See the stars through them, through treacherous marbles. Know the stars yonder, the stars everlasting, a fugitive also, and emulate vaulted the lambent heat lightning and the firefly's flight. When thou dost return on the wave circulation, behold the shimmer, the wild dissipation, and out of endeavor to change and to flow, the gas becomes solid, and phantoms and nothings return to be things, and endless imbroglio is law and the world. Then first shalt thou know that in the wild turmoil, horse of the Proteus, thou ridest to power and to endurance. Oh, crazy, crazy. Why can't we have a normal poem about love and flowers? Why does it have to be? What do you think about this little poem? Anything at all?
About circulation of life.
Yeah, circulation of life.
Maybe mirage.
Mhm.
Mirage. Maybe life when like itself. Where knows be some important or not some important.
Something important, something not important. It's all one big wave. Okay, yeah. What else do you think? See, feel, notice. Okay. So it's a very liquid poem. We have lots of flowing in it, as we can see. Does anyone know Emerson? Have you read any of his poetry before?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know anything about this guy? Okay, very good. Specifically, why this poem today? It's just we have this very interesting, strange book, Miss Peregrine's House of Peculiar Children or something, and you have the film also. You might have seen it. And they use this poem, a bit from this poem in the beginning, so I thought it would be a good idea to have a look at the whole poem. So if you can find the book and read it, it's a very good book. And if you can see the film is also very nice. Okay, so illusions. Why is it called illusions? So now we read it's about like life, death, flowing, changing. Why is it called illusions? What is illusions here?
Because everything doesn't matter. Everything goes as waves, and no certainty in any line in this piece of poetry.
So do we think we are solid, or do we think we are waves? Or do we think we are sometimes solid and sometimes waves? Okay, who thinks they're solid? If you think you're solid, raise your hand, please. Okay, one.
I understand what means solid.
Solid is like, that's not solid, that's not solid, that's solid, that's solid. Air isn't solid. Okay? If you think you're solid, please raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3. It's very good because you are solid. You try to go through a wall, you discover you're solid. Okay, who thinks there are waves? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the rest up. Who thinks there are neither waves nor solid? 1. Who thinks there are waves and solid? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, good. Because I think we need to decide. It's like those, you need to buy a ticket, they ask you, are you male or female or not sure? So that will be our version. Are you wave or solid or not sure?
Waves.
Waves.
Solid?
Waves can be solid. Yes. Yeah, we can capture waves maybe. So actually, if you look at the science, what it tells is that we are actually sometimes waves and sometimes solid, and it's all very strange. Yeah, it's like we switch on and off many millions, billions times every second, every millisecond. Like now you're solid, now you're not here at all. It's strange to think about. But that's all they say. So that's a very scientific poem. Do you like scientific poems?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. So sometimes you have poems that are too clever. Does it sound too clever to be a poem?
It's beyond the cleverest thing I ever read.
So do you think it deserves to be called a poem? if it's so technical. Do you think we can call it a poem?
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, I think the world is one big poem, and the science can be one big poem too. Okay, so what we have here is his like a personal opinion about the subject, not just the theory, but how he feels about it. So how does he feel about it? So he says that everything is like waves and there are cycles. How does he feel about it? Does he like it? Does he not like it? Does he care?
Not like it so much.
Why? How do we know? Can we see anything in the poem which tells us whether he likes or not the idea? Or if he doesn't care maybe, or if something else? Okay. Yeah, the question is, does he like this model of reality?
I think it's reality, but it's
He gives us a model of reality. Any poem, no matter how poetic, gives us a model of reality. Here it's just very obvious. How does he feel about it?
I think it's reality in the sunny day, maybe when you see trees, leaves,
And then you say, oh, everything's vanishing, we'll all die.
sunset.
Okay,
It's a loop.
it's all illusion.
Shadows.
This room is illusion. This chair is an illusion. Oh no!
Mine.
Yes. Okay. Flow, the waves, hated. What an interesting beginning. Accursed, adored. Yeah. So flow, the waves. He speaks directly to those waves which make reality. Fun, isn't it? When was the last time when you spoke to reality directly? Do you ever speak to reality directly? Maybe it's a good idea to try.
When you're sober, never.
Or when you're not sober?
Yeah, every time.
Maybe we were supposed to do it. I mean, imagine if, I'm not saying it's true, imagine if reality is a living being, I don't see why not, and then you just live in it and you never even talk to it. How does it sound? It's very rude. Imagine you came to someone, you're somebody's guest, you live in their house, you never even say hello to this person. Very rude.
Maybe we have some ideas of life. We need to some new friends, the weather. Nothing in this.
I really can't hear you. I kind of guess half of what you're saying. That's okay. Okay, so why do we, how do we define those waves? How does he describe those waves? Very easy.
Hated.
Hated, cursed, adored. So it's a very interesting combination. You hate those changes, because wave means change, constant change. We hate changes, we curse changes, we don't like changes, but at the same time we love changes, because the changes mean life, and no change means no life, and no movement. So it's like already in it we have this movement, because if you just say, oh, I love changes, and I love, and I love, and I love, there's no movement. If you say, I hate changes, and I hate, and I hate, there's no change, no movement. But if you say, I hate and I love, changes. Then you have those two opposite feelings which are equally true. And then you have the rhythm. Yeah, it's a very famous, very old idea called Odi et Amo. Have you heard it? Has anyone done any little bit of Latin recently? Okay, it's a famous expression. Odi et amo. Odi is like I hate, et and amo I love. I hate and I love. It's a very old idea. When we love somebody and at the same time we really, really hate this person. Yeah? It comes very close together. Sometimes you can't say if you hate it or love it. Maybe it's just very stupid labels. Maybe we just love and hate and really it's something different. We just don't know how to call it. Flow, flow the waves. Hated, accursed, adored. The wave of mutation. So already from the beginning, in these first two lines, little lines, we have this idea of movement, emotional movement, first of all. Yeah, flow, flow, that's movement. The waves, waves, that's movement. Hated, accursed, adored, that's movement too. If you feel it. The waves of mutation. Do we like mutations?
No.
Yeah, I know you're falling asleep. Try to wake up a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. What's mutation? What's mutation? Yeah. What does it mean? Change. Yeah. Literally. Again, coming back to our Latin friends. If you believe in Latin, some people don't believe in it. Well, if you believe in Latin, then mutare means changing, that's all, changes. So mutation now in our culture is something scary. We think about radiation and X-Files and Hulk and all these funny guys from the screens. It really just means changes, like transmutation and transformation, the waves of mutation. So when you say the waves of mutation, what do you imagine? What do you see? Thought? So how do you understand the waves of mutation? The waves of changes? Yes. Maybe. Maybe it's changes. Changes mean they're constant. If you have one change and then no changes, and it's dead. It has to be continuous changes. So today you're a butterfly, then you become a little bird, then you become a little rock, then you become a little fish, and you wake up in the morning, you don't know who you are. You think it's not funny? Oh, the time is not funny. Maybe, but that's all they say. Maybe you can read it backwards to make it more funny. Omateido. I don't know what it means, but maybe it's something more funny. Flow, flow the waves, hated, accursed, adored. The waves of mutation. No anchorage is. It's a very interesting, beautiful turn of phrase. You don't say there is no anchorage. You say no anchorage is. And what do we mean here? No anchorage is.
No way to be supported.
So if you have this reality which is lots of waves upon waves upon waves, that's your reality. And you're like a little boat somewhere in there. Now you're up here, now you're down here, now you're somewhere else completely. And maybe you feel like you want to stop, you want to feel solid ground and say, phew, here I stand, but it means you die. And he says, no anchorage is, you can't stop it, you can't stop this great big quantum flow of reality. If it stops, if it's frozen, it means not even you're dead, because if you think you're dead, you're not really dead. It means you're out of this system altogether. It never happens in here. So how do we feel about it? Eternal movement, yes. So we want to stop sometimes. Sometimes we feel like, oh no, it's too much now. I don't know what's going on around me. Give me a minute, give me a breath. No, you take it. You get used to it. No anchorage is. So again, we use the word anchorage. Anchor, anchorage. Why? Why don't you say there is no stopping it?
The waves don't have home, motherland.
Yeah, or to put it more easy. Yeah, they just run somewhere, run and run and run, and they don't really have an aim. They're just running. Anchor, very easy, because anchor is related to ship and sea and waves. So now we talk about waves which are not real waves, and we use images, symbols related to the same idea. So you talk about, like, I don't know, radio waves, and suddenly you talk about anchoring. So to make this idea of waves more powerful, more solid, bigger. No anchorage is. So it's very interesting how you say no anchorage is, and you end up with this positive statement. Very strange. No anchorage is. So here we have one first dot at the end of the first phrase. But then we continue, and it's connected, it's all connected. Sleep is not, death is not. So it's very strange, because just grammatically, first you say no anchorage is, and now you say sleep is not, death is not. So you use the same grammatical bits. The idea again is more or less the same. But you use a different construction. Again, it's like movement and change. And again, it's not like you speak in your everyday life. So maybe as we read it, it's a little bit like waves in itself. No anchorage says, sleep is not, death is not. How do we understand it? Sleep is not what? Death is not what?
Maybe the situation between life and death, so when we have different waves of that another way of life, another path, we can find what we need. For example, now my home pet, my cat, is in reanimation, and when I read this, I think about my cat. I want my cat bring to life again.
Yes. Yes, very good. Any more ideas? What is it? Sleep is not, death is not.
Eternal,
Yeah, good.
eternal life.
So, anything else?
Don't stop, never stop.
So if you just say sleep is not, how do you understand it? In
Not
itself.
exist, not exist.
Yeah, it's like sleep does not exist. Do we think sleep does not exist?
No.
Okay, sleep does exist. Yes. Do we think death exists? So we know that sleep and death are often compared. They're very much alike. Very much alike. But whether we have no problems with the idea of sleep, normally, usually. We don't have problems with the idea of sleep. Somehow we have a lot of problems with the idea of death. Why? I don't know. Can you tell me why?
I believe in reborn.
Yes. Why do we have problems with the ideas of death when we don't have any problems with the idea of sleep? Since they're so similar.
Because after sleep you are not dead.
After death?
You are dead.
We don't know. That's a trick. Yeah, if you think about sleep and how nobody really knows how it works and what happens to you when you're asleep, do you know that you're asleep when you're asleep?
We rest.
We rest. Okay, we say about death, it's eternal rest. No problem.
Maybe our soul has travel
Yes,
in
maybe.
another world.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Yes. So do you know that we are asleep when we're asleep?
Yes, sometimes we know.
Sometimes
It's,
we
it's
do.
depend on structures of our brain.
Mhm.
If some of them are switched off, we have no ideas during the sleep. And if this is on, we have thinking and feeling inside our sleeping.
Yeah, so sometimes we know that we're asleep when we're asleep. Very often we don't. And do you know this moment? Can you trace? It's a very interesting experiment which you can always do at home, very safe. For it. Just try to trace this little moment when you go to sleep. Where is this little barrier, this gate between I'm awake and I'm not here? Can we trace it? Do you remember the moment when you fall asleep? Most people don't. So you can try it at home, just when you go to bed, try to remember that and just try to notice this moment when you're drifting into sleep. Okay? So most people can't do it. So what happens when we die again? We don't know. He says sleep is not, death is not, because nothing stops. If you say, if I sleep, that's some sort of an anchor. If I die, that's some kind of an anchor. He says, no. It's an illusion. Really, you go on and on and on. Not in the body, but in some different form, as a wave maybe. And it's a very interesting, because if you read that book, you open the first page. I think we have a link to it at our Shakeyburns contact group somewhere. Miss Peregrine's, I think it's called House for Peculiar Children, unless I'm mistaken. Something along the line, children. So you open the book, the first page, and they quote this poem. They don't quote it from the beginning. They only quote a little bit here, starting with sleep is not, death is not, without the previous lines. So if you just read it, sleep is not, death is not, it means there is no sleep, there is no death. If you read it from the beginning, it's like there is no anchorage. Sleep is not an anchorage, death is not an anchorage, so it has a slightly different meaning, interestingly. So sleep is not, death is not. Who seem to die, live. Now that's optimistic. Do we agree? Okay, if you agree, do we agree who seem to die, live? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Not always, but very often.
Okay, are you dead? Are you sure you're dead? You look dead to me. Wake it. Okay. Who thinks it's not true? If you die, you're a goner, you're not going to come back. That's it, the end of the line. 1, 2. Okay. guys who seem to die live. But he is very specific about it. He says, no, it's always, they're never ending. There is no end. It's only illusions, seem to illusion. And now we come to an interesting bit, less abstract, more interesting maybe. House you were born in, friends of your springtime, old man, young maid, day's toil, its guerdon, they're all vanishing, fleeing to fables. So why do we talk about these specific images, ideas? Do you have a poem? It was somewhere back there. Do you have more copies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Please share. It's a good idea to have a poem which you're reading. Okay.
What is guerdon?
Guerdon, yeah. Toil is like hard work, and guerdon is like reward, your prize for your hard work. Okay. It's not a normal word. It's a poetic word. So why do we talk about these specific images? House, friends, old man, young maid, day's toil, and its reward. Why do we talk about these things? Any ideas? What do they all have in common? Why do we put them in one place when we talk about no anchor chains and all those things? Any ideas?
Because all these things go in the past. There is no house.
Yeah.
It exists now. It's not a house.
So first of all, the first thing we mentioned is house you were born in. Not any old house. House you were born in. Why is it important? House you were born in. Do you remember how you were born in? Hospital. Yeah, which generally means a house of your childhood, let's say. Do you remember the place of your childhood? How do you feel about it? Nostalgic? Smiling a little bit? So what happens? What happens to those places?
We stay in our memory
For the rest of our lives.
So can it be that you remember the place from your childhood and you feel very nice about it, very soft, and you think like, maybe I can come back and see it again and feel the same again, and does it work? Can you do it? Yes, no. Can you do it? Can you come back to the place from your memory and feel the same?
Never.
Maybe yes. Maybe not. So what happens? The place is changing, you are changing, and they're both changing in different ways. So when you come back, it's not the same place and you're not the same person.
They are changing.
We're changing, yeah. Do you know this expression like you can't walk into the same river twice? Do you know this expression? Do you know it's only half of the expression?
Yes, I don't remember, but
Yeah, it says the whole expression is like you can't walk into the same river twice because you will be a different person. That's the whole expression. So you can't keep the house you were born in. Yeah, it's only in your memory. Or what's another way of reading it? What's a house you were born in? And maybe it's like your body in a way. Maybe it's like your body. Maybe it's like your mindset of your childhood, maybe. So house not only as a physical place, but also as a state of mind. Like, oh, when I was young, when I was 5 years old, I used to do this and this. Now I can't do it because I think it's very stupid. Yeah, maybe. House you were born in. So it's very beautiful because we have those death, die, and the same line, born. So we connect death and birth in this order. First die, then born. In the poem, as we read the poem, sleep, death, die, born. Which suggests that's the order of things in this reality of the poem. First you die, then you're born, not the other way around. As we come across it here. House you were born in. Also, your house is something very private. Agree? House is something very private. House is you, basically. So if you're losing your house, it's like you lose a little bit of yourself. You come back to the place and it's in ruins. It's like, oh no, it's like a bit of me is in ruins, is gone. Okay? You seem to die and leave house you were born in. Friends of your springtime. Now what about friends of your springtime? Mm-hmm. Can we keep our friends of springtime? What happens? Do they die, all of them?
It's life.
Sometimes friendships become even stronger, but still.
Yeah, so some kind of relationship can grow stronger with time.
Feelings from that relationship,
Mhm.
it's different feelings, and we can't experience the same feelings.
Mhm. So it's like when you start and you make friends with someone, and you keep changing again, and the other person keeps changing too, and sometimes you keep changing in like different directions, and then as you go on and on and on, and eventually you can see this distance has become too great for you. Now at first you were very near. Now you're somewhere apart. It's not bad, it's just you have different paths to go. Yeah? It's like you have those lines which seem to be parallel, but they're not really parallel. And if they keep on going, then eventually you can see how far they go. If they're, even if they seem to be parallel, if they are not. Friends of your springtime. Why do we mention spring? Why don't we say friends of your youth?
Because we have many dreams, we have many waves, and we have many time. But then we go, and we're tired, we
Yes, we're disappointed and sad and old, and then we die, and then we're born again, and then it's all over. Horrible.
and we lost many
Keep losing.
many illusions, many
Mhm.
dreams, many friends.
Why do we say springtime? Why don't we just say youth? Why do we use this word?
Young friends.
Yeah, of your youth, but we don't say friends of your youth. We say friends of your springtime. Why?
Because spring is associated with new morning, new beginning, everything is blooming, everything is so bright and juicy and fresh.
Yes, like today, maybe. Maybe if we say springtime as in youth, we also think about year cycles. It reminds us of this cyclic nature of time, of nature. So on one hand we just say friends of your youth, On the other hand, we also remind ourselves of those different cycles in nature too. It's not just his imagination, we can actually see it. Springtime. Friends of your springtime, old man and young maid. Okay, now some strange visitors. Who are they? Why do we need an old man and a young maid? So two opposite figures, old man and a young girl.
Maybe old man, like wisdom.
Wisdom.
Young maid, it's like eternal beauty and eternal life.
And you lose all of it. You get old, stupid, and ugly. So he says, nothing stays. Not an old man, not the young maid. Who are they? Why are they here? Friends of your springtime, old man, young maid. What are they doing here?
And young maid, and it is
Okay, so old man, young maid, it's like taking everything you can encounter, like from extreme to extreme. On one hand, oh, look what we have today. Look what we have today. I thought, why not look at the whole poem? What happens to the old man from the childhood? What happens to the old man from the childhood? Maybe he dies. Maybe he doesn't die. You meet him 20 years later. And what happens to him? Is he the same man? Does he look just as wise and sagacious as when you were 5 years old? Does he look as mysterious and clever as when you were 5 years old? And now you're 25 years old and you realize he was only 40 years old when you first met him? Do you see him the same way? Yes. Do you see him the same way? Have you had those meetings with someone from your childhood, maybe a teacher or a relative?
and I start to speak with them like with human, not like with someone.
From the cloud?
Like it is normal. No, without any imagination, without imagination
Yes.
about what he think about me. I just can't speak.
So maybe that's what happens if we go for path and we meet this great big authority, and then we can actually talk to him as to face and like, oh, maybe if you know what I mean. What about young maid? If we have a friend from a childhood, a little girl or a little boy, and we meet them 20 years later, what happens?
No, I think it's true.
So what happens?
Love.
Maybe love. So you remember a cute little girl and you meet her 20 years later and she has a husband and 5 children. And she works in McDonald's.
She became adult.
Again, is she the same person as you remember her? Or is she someone completely different now?
Maybe she's not completely different. She just has undergone like very different stages, and she
More shaped.
more shaped. And she's the same, but she has more quality.
Yeah. And at the same time, we understand it's not about some abstract old man there and a young girl there. It's something that happens inside us, same as the house. It is not necessarily a real house. So the old man and the young maid, maybe something inside us, something we believed was true, like the old man. Oh, now I know all the truth about the universe. I'll tell you if you want to listen. Now I'm really clever. I know I was stupid before, but now I know. It's for real. Yeah, we all have these moments, and then 2 years later, oh. And a young maid, maybe too, some little illusions, like a little girl gathering flowers. Oh, life is happy, I'm going to be a princess. Maybe. So nothing stays. Old, young, men, girls, all of it is changing. Maybe old men become young girls, who knows. Days toil in its garden. What is it? Again, it's funny how you have those two lines coming one after another. Old man and young maid. Day's toil and its garden. You have those parallels, the same as you have no anchorage is, sleep is not, death is not, those grammatical parallels linking them. Here you also have those grammatical parallels linking these two. Old man, young maid, day's toil and its garden. So maybe day's toil is like the old man, you're working and working and working, and the garden, like reward, is like the young girl, little girl, something nice and pretty, maybe. They're all vanishing. They're all vanishing. Why do we say garden, by the way? Why do we use that word? It's a strange word. It's not a normal word. It's a poetic word. Why don't we just say day's toil and its reward? I mean, it doesn't rhyme anywhere. We don't feel any specific rhythm in it. We could use any other word we wanted. So why do we use garden?
Why not? Why not?
Why not?
To add more charm.
Yeah, to make it more beautiful, maybe. What do you think? Yeah. I mean, if you write a poem and you need to put a word and you write, oh, I know, I'll write garden. Ah, yeah, everybody knows garden, it's a good word. I didn't even have to look into the dictionary to find it. Yeah? Is that how it happens? Garden is a strange word. Maybe, does it remind us of something else, maybe? I don't know. What does it sound like? Garden. Yeah, maybe like garden. So we have like guards, and we have garden. Maybe that. I don't know. But it's strange that he uses this kind of Spanish sounding word indeed. They're all vanishing, fleeing to fables. They're all vanishing, fleeing to fables. And we hear this sound of like waves. Vanishing, fleeing to fables. So why do we say fleeing to fables?
This stuff is not forever.
What about fables?
Fairy tales.
Fairy tales. So how does our reality becomes fairy tales? Illusions. So had it been illusions from the start, or had it become illusionary when it's in the past? I don't know. It's the same as we talked about it the other time about memories and are they real? Maybe it's again the same question. Can you trust your memories? Was it the real reality? What do you remember? It's all fables. Fable is like a fairy tale. And I'm not saying that fairy tales are not real. They are real and true if you can read them. If you can read them, they are real and true. But they have their own reality. So your memories, what we thought was in this reality, now moved to another reality actually. So maybe when you die, it only means that your whole life had moved into this another reality. And this another reality has no time, and thus you have no time now. You're immortal. Maybe. Flee into fables. And again, think about, well, we don't say about fables as a genre, as a specific kind of tale, because obviously it's just for the sound fun here. Fleeing fables sounds good. But the thing about tales is that people tell them differently. The same tale can be told very differently by different people. Same as you think you share a memory with someone, but if you try to describe it, then you'll talk about something completely different. You'll describe it very differently. Think to fables. And of course we know how legends get sort of twisted and corrupted on the way, and what it was in the beginning and how we have it now, it's something completely different again. So yeah, it's all waves and nothing is constant. The past isn't constant, the present isn't constant, future isn't constant, time is not, sleep is not, death is not, time is not, nothing is. They're all vanishing, flee into fables, cannot be moored. Okay, cannot be moored. What is moored? Do you remember?
Moored like anchorage.
Yeah, like anchored, somewhere at the land. When finally you finish your journey on your boat, on your ship, you get it moored so it doesn't drift away again somewhere. So they cannot be moored. Why do we use this expression, moored?
Can't be stopped. Can't be.
Yeah, why don't we say can't be stopped again? Or we say can't be moored.
Because it goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the only way to stop it to make a photo.
And again, we come back to the beginning of the poem, the idea of waves, because we had this kind of little digression talking about house, friends, old man, young maid. Now we need to come back to our main idea. So we use the word moored as if, because it's related to the idea of waves. And it's different from anchored, which we used in the beginning, because you can anchor a ship somewhere in the middle of the sea. But moored, I guess, is when you come home. So you can't come home here. Moored. See the stars through them, through treacherous marbles. Ah, funny. Moored marbles through treacherous. Now we have stars. We don't have the sun. We don't have much of a landscape here. We have water and sky as something very basic. If you know those myths about the creation of the universe, of reality, in many cultures that's how it's starting. You have water and you have sky, and then later you have land and everything else in many cultures. So here we seem to have the same landscape, because we don't mention any land. We only talk about water images, and now sky, stars. And again, it's this night sky with stars, not with the sun. Why? See the stars through them, not see the sun through them. Why stars?
Stars, it's symbol like dreams or something far.
Yeah, maybe because we talked about sleeping, dying, stars, like your futures and stars, or dreaming, or far away. More romantic, maybe. See the stars through them, through what? See the stars through what?
Through all of these objects, what
Yeah.
was mentioned, and what have been vanishing, I guess.
Yeah, so it's like maybe let's say your memories or what makes you. So basically, when we think about ourselves, then a very big part of how we see ourselves is our past and our childhood memories too. So that's a very big part of us, and now he says it's all vanishing. A very big part of you is vanishing, and you can see stars through them. They're not solid; they're transparent at least. And you can see stars through your memories. Through treacherous marbles, very beautiful. So your memories are like treacherous marbles. Again, have you seen that funny cartoon about emotions in your head? Inside Out. They had memories like little marbles. So maybe that's where they got their idea from Emerson, maybe. So now you can imagine that your memory is like a little marble, beautiful marble. What are they for? To play with, really. And you can look through them and see the stars through your memories. And they're treacherous. They're not what they are, not what they seem to be. You remember it, but what is it really? I think it's a very beautiful image, because you can just see how your memories are those little balls, and you have like a bag of memories, and you can put your hand in it and take one out and look through it and just enjoy the colors and how it sparkles in the starlight. And that's it. What can you do with your memories other than look at it and enjoy it? For treacherous marbles, know the stars yonder. That's a very good line. Know the stars yonder. So now we talk about stars. See the stars, know the stars everlasting. 3 times we say stars, lots of stars here. So when we say know the stars yonder, it's like a statement or an order. Get to know the stars, make yourself familiar with the stars. But when we read to the end, it's like the stars everlasting are fugitive also. It's like know that the stars are also fugitive, also running away somewhere. Yeah? So yonder is a good word here, because yonder is not just somewhere far away. Yonder is not too far away. You look at the stars. So do you think the stars are far away? 1. Okay, who thinks that stars are not far away? Who thinks they're very close to us, really? Do you believe in like disc world theory? No. Yeah, it's a difficult question because we don't really know. There are lots of strange things about stars. And how do we know it? Does it matter? Does it matter if the stars are billions of light years away, or if they're just painted on the sky? Does it matter? Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. One person. What do you think? Guys?
If the stars is only pictures on the sky, so there is no life on it, and this is not very optimistic. I hope so. The stars will be the real object, and maybe another forms of life are
Out there,
yes.
somewhere. So is it important for us if the stars are yonder or there? Does it really matter? I don't know. Oh, you decided for yourselves, really. I personally, I think that this kind of disc world model is very beautiful. If you look at the original version where they have like little beasts living in this kind of cellar or attic, and you have the cellar too, and it's lovely. Well, anyway, he says that stars are yonder, not too far away. And really, if you look at the stars somewhere far in the sky, they're inside you too. It's like you can't go there without going the other way too. You can't go far away out without going far deep into. That's what he says here, apparently. No, the stars yonder, the stars everlasting, are fugitive also. So when we look at the stars, we believe, we imagine they're forever, that they don't go anywhere. They are the same as a billion years ago and 2 billion years ago, they never change. He said, no, actually they're also running somewhere. Just because your life is too short to see it doesn't mean they're not moving. So again, we are reminded of those different cycles. We have this cycle of life and death of a person. We have a year, like springtime. Now we talk about stars and this very slow wave, very slow cycle, but it is they seem to be everlasting. They aren't. They're also fugitive. They're also running like crazy. Just weird, too small to see it, too short-lived. Emulate voltage, the lambent heat, lightning, and fireflies' flight. So again, those stars. What are they? Are they big balls of fire, or are they just the same as a firefly in grass? If you walk out in a place where you have fireflies, have you seen fireflies?
Yes.
Have you seen fireflies, people? Fireflies, anyone? Do you know firefly? A little insect which glows at night?
Yeah.
It's a good furniture.
Yeah, I see them like every year when I go to summer camp. Yeah. And when we have those which are flying, they're really strange because they're like switch on and off as they fly, like little Morse in air. And you have ones which just sit in grass and glow. And if you walk out at night, it's dark and there's no light, and you walk in like a field, a forest, and you see this guy sitting on the ground. It's so amazingly beautiful. It's like you look up, you see all those myriads of stars, you look down, and you see the same thing. It can be a bit confusing, but really, down there, up there, inside us, it's all the same. It's all reflecting each other. Really, that's what he says here. So firefly's flight is something you can see here. The flight of the stars is something you see there, but it's really the same thing. It's on this wave of changes. So that's the end of the first part. The second part is a bit smaller, as you can see. So first part we have this description of this place, reality, universe, how it works, what it is. And now we turn to more practical side, let's say. When thou dost return on the wave circulation, That's interesting. He doesn't even ask us. He knows. He tells us. Okay? When you return on the wave circulation, what does it mean? Where did you go so that you're returning? When you return on the wave circulation, like circle circulation,
And the body, maybe it's about the body.
yeah, apparently if he says you dive and you're not really dead, when you come back, because it's the wave, it's a change and death is not the end. When you return, and he uses this kind of dramatic language, thou dost, instead of you do, yeah? So it's supposed to sound very solemn. When you return on the wave circulation, again, it's a statement, he has no questions about it. It's a fact that you will return. It's not even a speculation, it's just a fact. When you return on the wave circulation, behold the shimmer. What shimmer? Oh, nice. What's the shimmer?
Shining like stars. Shining.
Yeah, maybe you see this kind of shining, like we talk about stars, shining fireflies, shining, there's some more shining. But then again, when you return, what sort of return is it? You return to nothingness or you return to thingness? When you return, maybe return, if you talk about a circle, then really there is no beginning, no end. Here and here say like thingness and nothingness. If now you're in thingness, you die, you return to nothingness. If you die, you're in nothingness, you return to thingness. Either way. When you return on the wave circulation, behold the shimmer, the wild dissipation. So maybe you return to nothingness, because of dissipation, no solid object, just dissipation. And out of endeavor to change and to flow. Now that is interesting. Endeavor, eagerness. What does it tell us? The gas becomes solid out of endeavor.
It's not effort. I try to understand endeavor.
Endeavor, when you try to do something, you want to do something.
Trying. Is this trying or willing?
You're willing, so you're trying. I'm not saying you're succeeding, but you make your effort to do it. So why do we mention it out of endeavor? This circulation, this wave, this circulation, this movement, it's not automatic. Yeah? It's not dead, automatic, it's not for granted. It takes intention, it takes your participation.
Make something more than you can.
Yeah, if you try to do it, you really try to do it. Yeah, maybe more than you can, but you can succeed.
Here,
And
I
more.
think more.
But you can do it because we see this circulation and he talks about it.
No, I think it's all out from situation.
No, he talks about the circulation, and this circulation is only possible because of our own intention. It doesn't just happen to you. Like if you come to a lesson, education doesn't just happen to you, you know. It takes your participation and your effort. Otherwise, what happens is your teacher tells you something into one ear. What happens then, you know? Yeah, it just goes out from another ear. if your head is or has all those little holes and you try to pour water in it, no, it doesn't work like that. So out of end of war, it's very beautiful. This movement, these internal waves, they're alive, they're sentient, they have their consciousness, they're not stupid and mechanic. The universe here is alive, it's not mechanical. Yeah, we now live in a kind of a mechanical universe where we have what we call laws of nature, yeah, which are sort of mechanical. It's like I'm not asking if you want to fall or not. That's gravity. Just go and fall. No, I don't want to fall. Yeah, it doesn't happen like this in our paradigm. Although we need to say that so-called laws of nature are not really laws, but more like habits of nature. Well, that's another topic. Anyway, here, this coming back to life, to thingness or nothingness, is an act and not just a mechanical event. And the word to change and to flow. We want to change, we want to flow. Things want to change, things want to flow. It's like this very interesting question. Again, you can think about it as your homework. Why does water always run downhill? Because it wants to, and every time it chooses to run downhill, or because it has to? Yeah? It's a very good question. As another example, it's if you think it may be strange, like if somebody offers to burn your hand, do you every time say no because you don't want to or because you have to? Yeah? So you can say no every time because you don't want to or you want to do something. So that's the question. Does water run down because it wants to and chooses to do it every time because it's easier for water to do it? Or does it have to and has no choice? That's a very good question actually. Anyway, here they change and flow because they want to. The gas becomes solid. Why do you think gas becomes solid? Because it wants to. Phantoms and nothings return to be things. Oh, Emerson, I love you. Here, finally somebody talks about nothings, not just me and the gnomic. Phantoms and nothings return to be things. So actually it's a little bit, how do we call it? Not racism, relativism maybe.
Yeah.
Thinking.
This is actual creative universe.
Yeah, creating the universe. The gas becomes solid, phantoms, nothings return to be things. So he tells us the same as we see in the physical reality. Gases can become solid things, so ideas, phantoms, no things can become things. He says it's natural. Yeah, you think that your ideas are different from gas? No. You think phantoms are different from something common and physical like gases? No, it's all the same. So saying nothings. We have things, we have nothings, which means that our model, our paradigm is thing-oriented. We think, but things are very cool in our language because we don't have a special word for nothing. Yeah? How do we call this? Nothing. And something and thing, yeah, something, thing. It's as if you had, well, actually we do have something like, you can say, I don't know, a man and no man for woman. Man. No man. So thing and nothing is same as man for man and no man for a woman, for instance. Yeah? You don't agree? But actually that's true, because we don't have a separate word for nothing. We don't. We use the idea of thing to define nothing through it. We don't do it the other way around. Yeah, we don't call this, I don't know, zubububu, and say that things are no zubububu. Yeah, we say that is thing, that is normal, we have a word for it. And that is, oh, no thing. We don't have a word for it, it's not normal. We don't like it. Agreed? So nothing. Here finally somebody, Emerson, says that no, nothings are just as big and important as things. We do need a special word for nothings. I mean, it's humiliating, really. It is. Okay, endless imbroglio is low in the world. Endless imbroglio, endless confusion. But imbroglio is, of course, a very funny, clever word to say. Imbroglio, maybe like embroiderment a little bit. You know, when you have maybe a cloth and you embroider it, make it beautiful, embroidered. Endless imbroglio. Endless imbroglio.
Universal chaos.
Yeah, chaos, confusion. Why do you say imbroglio? Try saying the word imbroglio. Tell me what you think about it. Imbroglio. Imbroglio. Try saying it. Imbroglio. Imbroglio. How does it sound to you?
Like a
Imbroglio.
boil of water.
Yeah, like boiling. Like broth, maybe. Like. Endless imbroglio is low in the world, so we have the law of confusion in this reality, like everything comes back to confusion if you don't make an effort to keep it in one piece. How do we call it in the scientific language? You know? Entropy? You know the word entropy? When everything comes back into ruins if you don't make an effort to keep it going. So he says, here the thingful side, there's a law of imbroglio, of confusion in both mind and thing. Then first shalt thou know. So again, using this clever language, shalt thou, not even thou shalt thou know. So again, knowing, know the stars, and first shall you know that in the wild turmoil, so first we had wild dissipation a bit earlier, dissipation, confusion, turmoil, all those ideas of instability. In the wild turmoil, hordes of the Proteus, thou ridest to power and to endurance. So that's supposed to sound really solemn and clever using all these words. What's the message? In this wild confusion, horsed on the Proteus, you ride to power. Horsed on Proteus, what is it? Who's Proteus? Do you know this guy, Proteus?
The god of fire. No, the god who brought the fire.
No, it was Prometheus.
Who change every time.
Yeah, so Proteus is again related to this subject of waves. Proteus is a god of sea, god of water, as of something that is moving and changing. You have the word protean, I think, which means changeable. Protean means changes all the time, and we have proto, like first. Proteus, something that comes first. First shall you know, and the Proteus, the first of all, somebody. And can you horse on Proteus like on horse? Well, we do have seahorses. You know seahorses? Have you seen seahorses? Haven't seen seahorses. Do you know what they are? Do you know what the seahorses are? Seahorses, wild horses.
I didn't see in real life, but I saw in movies.
Yeah, it's when you have big waves and the white froth. The froth is called horses. And again, in Greek culture, in different cultures, you have the idea of seahorses as of real horses in the sea. And Proteus, he's a very ancient god, which means he doesn't have a human form as later gods. He still has half of his body is a bit like a fish or a serpent or a seahorse. So he's half a man. He's half a man. He's half a man, and then usually he's depicted like a kind of a sea creature. But maybe you can horse on him. Horse on Proteus, ride in the Proteus. So if this guy is waves, is changes, is this deep water of changes, he's also linked with like art and with subconsciousness, interestingly or not. So when you say horse it on Proteus, you ride on Proteus, what does it mean?
You feel your inner energy.
So what does it mean to be horsed? Let's do it because we have different ideas in this phrase. And one idea is to be horsed. What does it mean to be horsed? To use like a horse, to ride.
My life in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, so you have this control. Yes. If you ride on something, means you have control on this horse animal situation.
And I can choose the direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you ride on those waves, on maybe your subconsciousness, your inner energy, this wild energy, wild side, because we have the word wild repeating, this side which is not reasonable as such, yeah? Which is changing all the time. If you can do it, you go through the whole cycle. Yeah, when you come back on the wave, he says, means you go this circle. Then you go through this kind of up, down, up again, or you don't need to see it as up and down, but that's how we see it in our up-down reality. Again, it's interesting because we have our gravity, we have big ideas about up and down in our imagination and images. Well, anyway, you go through the cycle, and now you're different now. You're not just oh, I'm a victim, my friends are not as they used to be, my house is in ruins, what to do? Oh, I think I'll just go and die now. And now you're different, you have power to, not just to be this little boat which is dragged along the waves. Now you have the power to participate. Now you have seen that even gas has a will to become solid. Even gas is sentient and has its will. How are you worse than some stupid gas? Do you think you're worse than some stupid gas? Do you think you're better than some stupid gas? You're not sure? Okay, you think you're better than some clever gas, okay? Yes, you're better than some clever gas. You think you're at least not worse than some clever gas? Yeah. Really simple. Okay. Word on the proteins that are rightest to power and to endurance. So we end with this very solid, optimistic note, endurance, power. Yeah. When we start, we have this little boat dragged about on those big waves, and we don't know heads from tails, and whether we are coming or going, and what is what, and which is which, and it cannot be anchored, cannot be moored. But in the end, after we come all this way, we come to endurance. And endurance is something solid, and stable. So it's a very interesting poem, I think, through all this instability. And in the end, after all, you do come to this stability, which is not some outward stability. Like, oh, I want my old house to be there forever. Let's just freeze it. Oh, my friends, they're changing. No, I need to put them into a stasis field. No, it doesn't work like that. The only stability which you can have is your inner stability in this wild circulation and turmoil, your inner endurance and power. Okay? Do we have something else to add here? More ideas, comments?
Maybe you have to change. You don't have choice. But you can direct your change.
Yeah, so if you can't help changing, then maybe at least you can say, okay, I want to change this way or that way. Yeah, that's what we call intention, and using our will and consciousness and not just be a silly shoe, but actually have consciousness. Do you think consciousness comes from the word shoe? Maybe, I don't know.
What does it mean?
Shoe, like what I don't have today.
Really?
Shoe.
No, I mean consciousness, you believe in this? That it comes from...
Consciousness. No, I believe that using long words is bad manners. And if you use long words, you need to do something about them. So you can say consciousness, it's a bit better. Yeah, I do believe that consciousness is related to shoes. More comments? Okay, then you can think about it at home.
Nice poetry.
Yeah, very good poetry. Very strange.
I like this.
Yeah, I like it too. I thought it was really strange, but then I thought, well, why not? Why not? Okay, so thank you for coming, and if you go to contact, you can find our Shakeyburns group with the links and reporting and all sorts of funny stuff, and again, you can use it if you want to discuss a specific poet, specific poem. There's a special topic for suggestions. If you want to share your art, you're very welcome. So just have a look. So hope to see you soon and have a good springtime. Do you like springtime? It's nice and sunny. We need more sea in Moscow. I think we need a sea in Moscow, a real good sea. Yes, that's what we miss in this place. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for horses and shoes.
Right, this is right.
Like ride. Yeah, ride, like ride, or ride. It's like ride on a horse. Ah.